Welcome to the podcast.
Oh man, thanks for having me.
Is called Most People Don't, But You Do.
Yeah.
And was thrilled to be able to meet Ryan Berman yesterday. He's the CEO and founder of Courageous.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of hearing him speak, and I just have to be very candid with you. It was terrific. I see a lot of speakers because we're traveling the world just like you are.
Yeah.
And immediately I liked you.
Oh.
Okay, and I think that's, not that it says a lot, but I'm critical of people.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that there's abundance in the world and I want everyone to be amazing. But once in a while, you also want someone to be really dull and boring so that whenever you get on stage, it's, oh my gosh, the best speaker was Bart, not Ryan, or Ryan, not Bart.
Yeah.
But I want you to know that I genuinely like you.
Yeah.
You were kind to me as soon as you sat down. You wanted to get to know me. How'd they find you? Hey, nice to meet you. Where you? We're engaging in that conversation. It wasn't, I'm the other keynote speaker, and I'm not going to. So thank you for that.
Of course.
Thank you. And your presentation was phenomenal. That's why I wanted very hurriedly, as we're in Miami, before all of us are heading back home, to get to know you a little bit better, to be able to share with our listeners who Ryan Berman is, because I think the message, there's some similarities with what we talk about, with doing what most people don't, the action element, but I want our listeners to learn more about you, Ryan, and we're going to start at the beginning. I know this is me doing a lot of talking for an interview with you.
Sure.
But we want to talk about growing up a little bit and this element of creativity. Because looking at your LinkedIn profile, you've done some amazing things. Started working for some people, and then all of a sudden, founder. 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 So
You mean fear?
No, courageous. It's all those
Fear.
things. So when you were growing up, Potomac, Maryland, high school, did you know that you were creative?
I think I knew I was creative, but I don't think that's the word I used.
What did you use?
I think I used, I love TV. Wow. I remember I was around 12 or 13 years old, and I was at Bethany Beach, Delaware, looking up on a map, folks, and I was just doing me. I was probably commentating, imitating some caster, and we'd always gone down there with another family from New York, and one of the moms, who was cracking up at something I was doing, was like, oh, you should look at Ithaca College. You should go there for television radio. And it was like, this is how I'm dating myself because I'm doing a record scratch. Also Google what a record scratch is. But like, I remember being like, wait a minute, you can study television radio for a living? I love television radio. I'm an expert in television. I've been watching television all my life. And at that point I was like, wow, how do I actually get into playing in that space? And so that's how it started. I was already like studying, even though I didn't realize I was studying, commercials when they came on or TV shows when they came on, and just followed that thread all the way through. I was never on it's funny that I even own a business because I don't see myself as a business person. I see myself as a creative business person, but as a creative first who had to learn how to become a business person.
Yeah, it's interesting because Ryan, as you just shared that, there was a guest a couple of weeks ago, Chef Duff Goldman from the Food Network. Bald gentleman, not like you or me, goatee, and he also owns out of Baltimore Charm City Cakes.
Okay.
So maybe you know the name. Anyway, Chef Duff Goldman, basically a global, worldwide celebrity pastry chef, baker. Anyway, terrific gentleman. And what he was talking about, and I was just replaying it this morning, he said, I cared about my employees so much. I had the courage to be able to start businesses, but I wasn't a very good business person because any money that came in, and we had 10 employees, I just divided it up. And he said after a couple of years that stopped working, and he had to lay off 70% of his team because he wasn't a good person. So it's interesting that you reference that you're not a good business person, yet you have owned and started so many different businesses.
Yeah.
So what element of business do you want to improve upon, and how are you making up for it now? And then we're going to get into more of being courageous.
So again, I think I'm a good creative business person. Someone said along the way, do it your best, pay for the rest. I like that advice. So I've got a couple partners, one who's better on the operations side, one is more, so our business, you saw this yesterday, our definition of courage, which is So there's 3 levers that we talk about. There's knowledge, there's faith, and there's action. And I run what's called the faith side of our business. So it's not a religious, we aren't a cult,
Yep.
but it is about inner belief. It is about like conviction. Why should I believe? So like I try to stay in my lane down the, hey, is this idea something people will actually buy in and believe in? Look at, I've been an owner now for 21 years,
time,
right?
yeah.
And so when fear is winning with me, I'll remind myself like, wow, that's crazy that somehow I went from 2004, 4 people out of a house, a creative agency of about 90 folks. But it's been because when we could afford it, surrounding myself with people that are super talented at stuff that I'm not. And let me stay in my space.
Got it. And a lot of leaders don't know about that. We talked yesterday a little bit about self-awareness and knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at, and how to surround yourself with other smart people. And that's exactly, apparently, what you have done.
Oh, I think we fumble into it. I don't know if you remember hearing me say from the stage yesterday, I'm not a fake it till you make it guy.
No, you are a what?
A mistake it till you make it.
Stake it?
Mistake it.
Or mistake it till you make it.
Mistake it till you make it. So it's funny. First of all, and let me give you some love too. I think when somebody comes on the stage before or after me, and first of all, I was very happy to go before you, just so I could just enjoy your show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you.
And I wondered, could you, when you were sitting there watching, you still have to go on in a couple hours.
Yeah.
So you're like, I got to stay in my lane.
I can't totally. I'm looking at my presentation and my notes, and I'm
Right.
looking at, I don't want to say the exact same thing that you said on that same topic.
But you want to build on it,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah,
you're so good at remembering, which was great. That was so clear. I had the luxury of, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I was like, same thing. I was like, I like him. I'm curious. I want to come see his thing. And so I could just sit in the space and just enjoy your presentation and learn from you, which was so great. And I'm like, oh shit, like same styles. Like you have your little sound bites. It's all about story and put the lesson in the story.
Yep.
Be bamboo stuck out for me. I was laughing when you were you like held up your t-shirt. Usually I have a mistake it till you make it t-shirt.
Okay.
So sometimes I'm like, where have I seen this before?
Yeah.
But I just thought you did an excellent job, and like you can't not learn something from you.
No, thank you.
When you're doing what you do.
Thank you. And I know the conversation is just
Yeah,
flowing, right? We're not, I thought we would start in the beginning, but it's okay. Let's just keep on talking about this as flow. I took a lot of pictures of your slides, and I think that's one of the greatest compliments.
Yeah.
That if someone is up there, and I have a couple of images of you on stage that I'm going to send you in case you want to show your family, that hey, look, you really were in Miami presenting.
AI.
But there were memorable moments that I took from you that I think are very helpful. And before you went up on stage, and we're just sitting in the back, and we're hearing our friend Julian speak, and he was sharing some slides about leadership as an example. And I turned to you and I said, you know, it's interesting that there's not a whole lot of new things in leadership. There's not a whole lot of new things in sales. There's not a lot of new things in fitness and well-being. There's like, in based on your research, and we'll get into your podcast guest and the research that you had done for 3 years, there's self-awareness, gratitude, kindness, respect, follow-up, truth, authenticity. Okay, these are all great characteristics that you need to be a great leader. And what I appreciated about, and I said that to you, because I wanted to make sure that that I knew that we could both give benefit, even though best-selling author, even though podcast host, 200 episodes, 187 today,
It's crazy.
188, fist bump.
I was totally leaving you there, sorry. I was like, coffee's down there still.
So there are similarities in what we do, but your story, because of your background, because of how you see things, is different than my background and how I see things. And if we can tell different stories that are unique and memorable, that's what matters. What are your thoughts on that?
No,
Besides agreeing.
No, I think we, as a people, because that's what we do, study people, and we try to find the right stories. And as time continues, although it doesn't feel like we're moving, we are. And so you try to look at what are the new stories and where should we be playing. And also, wait, why are we following this story? This story, I don't think matters as much or isn't as foundational as others. So for example, one of the stories let's call it, we're story hunters, we're story chasers. We're making up stuff here on the spot.
Yep.
One of the stories I'm chasing right now And to your point, is it that different? Is the building of teams. And I hear a lot about leadership. I hear a lot about culture.
Yeah.
We're all hearing about AI.
Yeah.
AI, every story is like AI. It's, hold on. How high functioning is this team? Your product at the end of the day, if I'm a leader, is productivity. Is the team productive? So is that a new story? It's like a new wrapper on a story, but we've forgotten that I might be a great leader or you might be a great team member.
Sure.
But like when it comes down to it, are we interacting as much? Like how do we get more out of this unit? So I'm starting to like fiddle with that. I don't know if that answers it or your question.
No, yes, it does, because my presentation primarily was now to next by doing what most people don't do. And how can we embrace the sigmoid growth curve?
Yeah.
And how can you prepare and stop to think about what could I do now that is going to affect tomorrow and the next year and the year after that? So I'm trying to do this of all time, greatest of all teams.
Yes.
And you shared images of really well-known athletes. And then would you mind sharing the conclusion of why, or the purpose of why you're showing those athletes? Because you were showing really great people, Patrick Mahomes and other great hockey players.
Yeah.
But then the point was...
First of all, I think we got that whole thing completely wrong, right? Like goats. So it's there's a bit for that. I got a bit for that. But I think the greatest of all time, if we looked at like the last 8 championships, 7 of them, the GOAT, greatest of all time, had made it to the finals, to the ice, to the court, to the rink. Yeah. If you look at the NBA finals, the NFL championship, Super Bowl, the GOAT got there and then lost to the better team.
Yeah.
Mahomes lost to the Eagles. Caitlin Clark had lost to South Carolina in women's basketball. There was 2 GOATs in Major League Baseball, Soto and Judge. They lose to the Dodgers. Sorry, folks, if you're not sports fans on this thing.
That's okay.
And it's, oh, wow, maybe it should have been greatest of all teams versus greatest of all time. And so I like the idea of like, how do you get more out of this team? And I think what we do best is we're stop signs, like we're speed bumps. Oh, well, hold on. Are we actually focused on the right thing? And sometimes it's the basics. It's, are we having the conversation that we should be having right now? Are we all aligned on the same page? The point I think I made yesterday was, well, maybe move over goats and let's bring on the squid. And squid, we called squids shared quest. Shared quest upends individual desires. What is the shared quest of the team? So I love that space. I love staying in that space. And a lot of the work that we do, trying to stay with the team and be holding them accountable now to doing what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, and I think that's a great approach. And you're going from groups to teams.
Yes.
And how can individuals work better as teams? And it is nothing new that there are teams out there, but what is new is some past failure stories of individuals that did not succeed on a team. I even think LeBron James, supposedly one of the best of all times, did not make it to the whatever finals, semifinals, quarterfinals, did not advance. And then you have individuals. Do you remember what the quote was for the Bulls when you showed Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen? Do you remember what the line was, the tagline?
Why is that greatness up there?
Yeah, greatness.
Yes.
Greatness. And that was the team,
Yes.
Chicago Bulls.
Yes.
Anyway, I think that's a brilliant idea. And for our listeners, we are sharing abundance, right?
Yeah.
We want to be able to, we will share information on Ryan Berman. When we conclude, there'll be items in the show notes so people can connect with you. I think that's just a great idea to go from groups to teams. What does that look like? And all of a sudden, are you thinking about that? Are you talking to people? Are you gathering ideas? Are you reading? How are you going to, you already have it here. How are you going to build it out here? And maybe the next book is going to be, tell us.
So there is another book coming. Dun, 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 dun. Here we are.
Good.
But hold on, before that, this is a cliffhanger moment because if I don't say this now, I'll forget it.
Yeah.
It could be interesting for your business in the spirit of abundance. Your show is called Most People
Don't, but you do.
Most teams don't.
Yeah. Most leaders don't.
There's a million. But
most individuals don't.
To me, again, it starts with the person. What's your responsibility? But then if you're playing on a team, does this team produce?
Yes.
So this is a nice lead into the next book. So this is the book I actually didn't mean to write. So there's multiple partners on this book. It's coming out in October. It's called Headamentals.
Say again?
Yeah, exactly. Headamentals.
Headamentals.
So
Instead of fundamentals, but
yes,
headamentals.
Fundamentals for your head.
Okay.
So the whole idea is like the way to get ahead
Yes.
is to understand your head.
Great.
And so it's all about self-talk. It's all about the fact that the things we say to ourselves, you would never say to somebody else. You think those things maybe, but you would never say them. But the things that you say to yourself is really what's slowing us down. And so there's really two of you in there. There's a monster, which is the negative self-talk. And there's also a maverick that's in there. But if you haven't brought the maverick out,
Sure.
the monster's going to win.
I don't know if you were in the session yesterday, but it might have been the second session, but someone had asked me, they were talking about should-dos, right? Getting should-dos done. And someone shared, I need to make sure I have more positive thoughts. And I said, let me share with you how I handle it. And not unlike what you're saying, maverick and a monster.
Yeah.
I have a tab in a journal, B for bad thoughts, G for good thoughts. Because studies show, were you around for this one?
No.
Or no? Okay. Average person studies, and I can't remember who did it, 60,000 thoughts a day.
Totally.
So many of them are repetitive and so many of them are negative,
Yes.
but the ones that are negative never come to fruition. So my suggestion to this young lady in the crowd was, okay, allow those bad thoughts to come in, write them down. Allow the good thoughts to come in, write them down, and at the end of the day, review them. The bad thoughts that I was worried about, oh my gosh, Ryan isn't going to show up on time. Oh my gosh, we're not going to have enough time to do Jose's. Oh my gosh, we're going to miss the flight. At the end of the day, was it really that bad? Was it bad for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 years? Was it or not? No. So why'd I even worry about it? Yeah, and you can use that.
I like it.
Tag Bart Berkey.
I like it. Where I thought you were going was someone had said it takes 3 positive thoughts to counterbalance 1 negative thought.
Okay. Internal?
Yeah, you need something for every negative thought you have. You need 3 positives to get to neutral.
Okay.
So think about what you need to say to yourself. And it's funny, when we started the convo, you talked about creativity. I am a process-driven creative, so I like systems. For example, creativity or positive affirmations. When I wake up on my alarms, I've changed all of my alarms on my cell phone so I can see what I need to see to start my day.
Okay.
Like the first thing I see is like either my values, my purpose statements, if there's some mission I'm personally on. Like right now I have, it's funny, for the first time I have 2 mantras. I have for myself.
Would you mind sharing?
Oh, of course, yeah. One is a macro and one is a micro.
Okay.
So I've always had patiently relentless. I've always
Patiently relentless.
I've always had patiently relentless. It's going to be messy. I'm going to mistake it till you make it, but I will get there. A little train that could, right? But then recently, with more urgency, with shorter term goals, I've adopted maniacal devotion.
Okay.
And there's times where I need maniacal devotion. I know my system enough that even the guy that's talking about courage needs to tell himself maniacal devotion. So I see that when I wake up in the morning. That when my alarm goes off, that's the one I go to.
And what does maniacal devotion look like to you? How would you define it?
Maniacal devotion is like focus on details actually matter on that specific thing I'm trying to accomplish. So if I'm like getting through a book, I've got to write maniacal devotion. Saying no to the things I need to say no to keep space for the thing I'm working on.
Amazing, amazing.
You can use these permission grant that I don't have a trademark on any.
No, but this is what we're doing is we are sharing ideas.
Yeah.
The goal is to be able to help people do what most people don't do. Most people don't set mantras. Most people don't have a micro and a macro and a mini, a macro and a
micro.
And a micro. They don't have those when they wake up in the morning. And there's another study, and also feel free to use this, and you probably already know this, 85% of people look at their phone within the first 15 minutes of waking up. And guess what, Ryan? They're not looking at macro or micro mantras. They are looking at, oh my gosh, the stock went down. Oh my gosh, there was a bombing here. Oh my gosh, my flight is... It's these negative things. So I love that is something that you're focusing on, and that's a good reminder for everyone.
Where do you put your phone at night? Have you figured this out?
Yes.
Because I have not.
Yes, it is on the bedstand,
Okay.
and it is charging. All notifications are off, and I do my best to use it only as an alarm clock if I need an alarm clock.
Okay.
I do my best we also talked about that yesterday, to not look at it for the first hour, to be able to wake up and deliberate my day the way that I want it to start.
Yeah.
And so it is sometimes going through the B and the G's, the bads and the goods from the day before. It's planning the day. It's trying to find an awe moment, which is something that I'm also talking about, which is probably going to lead into my second book, of what is making me stop and just breathe and appreciate that there is so much out there, and there is so much more things out there that will give me an awe feeling. And so recently, over the winter, it was brewing coffee, smelling that, and I went out onto the deck, and we're fortunate we have woods that back up to us, and there were deer and fox playing around in the snow, and the sun was starting to come up. And it still gives me goosebumps. That was awe. And I think more people need to find their awe every single day. Have you had an awe moment the last couple of days in Miami?
I have more aha moments than awe moments.
Okay, fair.
I thought your goose,
Buffalo or goose?
so good. I just appreciate the flying V, the goose component, because that, to me, I've heard that. We've talked about flying Vs forever, but I didn't have the color that you brought on. Guess what? It's not just one leader that's running the charge on that. So isn't it amazing how long have you had that material?
Years.
And like for me,
years.
I'm studying this stuff too. Yesterday was the first time I had heard that. And I'm like, oh, that's so good. It's like I want to goosebumps from the gooses.
Yeah.
So maybe that's my moment. But do you have I don't know if I have awe moments when I'm watching other speakers. I'm so in study mode.
Yeah, and not.
But I hear you saying in general.
Yeah, and not, yes. And it wasn't me watching you. Yes, I learned from you. Yes, I took notes. Yes, I took pictures. I was getting aha moments, and I love that, versus awe moments. An awe moment is, I'm just trying to think, yesterday, an awe moment was smelling the most magnificent oils at a yoga studio while waiting for Terry, my wife, to be finished with her class. And these oils came from India. I said that already. And it was neroli, so orange blossom scent. And just to be in that moment in Miami, smelling something that was so magical and deep and scented, was an awe moment.
Yeah.
Weird. A couple of weeks ago, it was hanging out in the pool before we were getting ready to present, because we try to be in the moment, live where we are, be where your feet are. And I saw a bird that was playing in the water, and it had the most spectacular yellow eye. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I stopped. I stopped and I appreciated that. Yeah.
I think you're really good at finding awe moments. And something you might want to, again, we can't turn this shit off, right? So I had Raja Manar, who's the CMO of MasterCard, on our podcast. And he didn't create Priceless, but he knew it needed a refresh. And the way he went at it was a full 60, I call it like a surround sound sensorial approach. Like they looked at all of the senses. And so you already gave a few, and I think already you're so good at like just the way you remember the room and remember name, remember people. But sometimes it's a smell.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something you hear.
Yeah.
So as you think about the ahs, I think how our senses, all of them play. When does it taste? When does it touch? When does it smell? Right? When does it something? Which of the senses do you trust the most of yours?
Sight.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm even thinking people come up to me like after yesterday, how do you remember everyone's name? Because I see it on the name badge and I visualize it.
Yeah.
And it just stinks. I saw Sam this morning in the lobby. I saw Raphael again last night. I saw, Ryan Berman. I saw Ryan again. So it's very visual for me. And as I referenced yesterday, I spend most of my life, like you do, creative and following process, watching other people to see what gets them going, what makes them happy. If I find people that are being happy, I want to learn from that. So I can maybe put that into my heart. And then if I see people that are being sad, guess what I do? I pull out that happiness that I found from someone else and I want to share it.
Yeah.
When I give gratitude stones. I am amazed at the number of tears, the amount of tears that flow as soon as I hand a gratitude stone to anyone, because it matters. And I don't know if I'm intentionally seeking those people out or using the universe's vibrations to find these people, but I gave a gratitude stone yesterday. For power and protection and courage. And she said, "You have no idea what this means to me." I said, "If you don't mind, tell me. I didn't even tell Terry this." She was going through a custody battle for her child, and her ex-husband was being a jerk. So she's in the middle of this custody battle, and I give her something for power, protection, and courage.
Awesome, man.
Yes.
Puddles.
Yeah. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
I got something for you, my friend.
Thank you.
Also, Tiger Eye, power, protection, and courage.
I love it, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, and talk about courage, which leads in perfectly to the segue. You've started several businesses.
Yeah.
And you have done amazing things. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was the thought process of working for someone and starting your own? Can you walk our listeners through that thought process?
Yeah.
And what was it? What was your first business that you started?
So I don't think it was, I know for a fact it wasn't that intentional. You're talking about 20 some years ago now, right? So I had a negative blessing back in the New York City days, and I was getting let go from a big creative agency. And I am so grateful for that moment. I know we probably look at the world similarly like this. I felt like back then, that was 3 chapters ago, and I was like a 7th year senior walking the halls, doing what I was supposed to be doing, the company that I was at, and they did me the biggest favor when they let me go. Now on that day, I didn't feel that. I remember feeling embarrassed. I remember feeling sad. I remember feeling angry because I'd given 7 years of my life to a company.
Yeah.
And then now, I'm like, how is it possible that one of the worst days of my life is one of the best days of my life? Because without that, I don't move to California. I don't meet my wife. I don't start my businesses. Now I have immense gratitude. And it's funny, even like the guys that let me go, one of them is a mentor of mine today.
Okay.
Who like years later, you go on your journey, I go on mine.
Of course, yeah.
And you land in the courage business, and it had been like 7 or 8 years. And out of nowhere, I get a LinkedIn message like, "What is this thing you're doing with courage?" And like the time machine takes you back, and you're like, I'm terrified. My 20-something back in his office.
Am I in trouble again?
Yeah, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
What did I do?
Yeah.
And I share my story with him. So the first agency.
Okay.
I had moved to California to write movies to get closer to LA, not live one. Like I had no intention of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It was my first business partner's idea. And then I'm like, okay, I'll come along for the ride. And went 50-50, and I like ran the creative product and she ran the operations, and we started to grow this thing. And then it's like the idea of writing movies, as the agency got bigger, that sort of got smaller. I'm like, wait a minute, we're growing here. What's going on here? And you just follow the path that was in front of me. And then I ended up buying her out. So as a guy that had no business background, I had to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And then I had to merge. And as a guy that had no idea how to do business, I had to learn how to do that. And then we acquired a production company.
Okay.
And a guy that never had anything to do with business had to learn how to do that. And then it was, let's see here, 2017. And I felt like we were in tennis no man's land. And that's code for, we were big for San Diego, but small for who cares? And we were a big fish in a little pond. And I wanted us to compete against the best in the world. And so I thought we were too hard of a decision for leaders to go into their office. If I was like a VP of marketing, for me to walk into my boss and go, I want to go with this company in San Diego.
Okay, all right.
I just didn't see,
that
was too hard of a decision for people.
Okay.
So we were doing good work when people had irrationally fell in love with us, which is what it was. If they irrationally fell in love with us, they're like, I love these guys. I don't even care. I'm working with them. But for everybody else, how do we make it easier for them to choose us? And we had landed on courageous ideas are the only ones that matter.
Okay.
So what I thought I was doing was writing a business card. It was a devious plan.
Tagline.
Not a business plan.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I like went out and interviewed all these leaders that I was like, oh shit, the joke's on me. I'm falling in love with this new idea. That organism, my old agency, was built off different principles. And as I'm sitting with these leaders and I'm going through this process, I realize, oh shit, without a courageous leader, there are no courageous ideas.
Yes.
You'll never sell a courageous idea.
Yeah.
And I just went further and further down this path. And then how do you write a book about courage and not live the premise? So 2017, went back to my partners and was like, good news is the book is done. Bad news is I'm firing myself. Perfect fit.
Okay.
And in both directions.
Yeah.
And we did some great things together. This was after like mergers and acquisitions, but it was time for me to go. And so I had a 2-year non-compete, and then in 2019 launched Courageous, and it's just been an experiment ever since. So I think that's the advice. It's if you have conviction for an idea, and remember how I started. I got basically thrown out.
Got fired, yes.
I got fired. Someone else's idea was to start the business. I stayed curious, went along for the ride, learned as I went along, continue to learn now. And again, I'm not pretending to have any of it figured out.
Yeah.
But Courageous now, like, there's a coaching part of it, there's a consulting part of it. We see community as part of it. We're just learning every day on like, where does the world need more courage, and where do you need courage the most? Is it you as a courageous leader? Is it the team?
Is it your team? Is it their ideas? Are they afraid? Are they not afraid?
And also where we're aligned too. You're
No.
the next. Really, that's the courageous reinvention. What I loved about what you talk about, it's that. It's like getting the mind ready for that shift, and then looking far enough out into the distance to know this is where we're going. We all have to look, by the way, there. We can't look. So we're singing the same song. And when you said to me after I spoke, oh, we need to talk. And then I got to see you do your thing. It made so much sense as to why.
And even the element of action. So you have redefined courage. Would you mind sharing with our listeners?
Yeah, so again, I see myself, when you think about how you label yourself, I'd love to hear.
Sure.
I see myself as like an observationalist, but basically a detective. You're constantly on the lookout for what's real and what isn't. So my best senses by far are my eyes and my ears. I know that's not everybody, like, no. My scent.
Not so good. Your taste?
Not so good.
Okay, all right, yeah.
But I think that means it allows my eyes and ears to focus.
Sure.
Because I'm not so good in other places.
No, I'm with you.
Right, so
defining courage.
Hearing what's not said, and it started with courage. So the first 6 months of the book was coming up with a better definition of courage. The definition is knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage. And you need each one of those levers for it to be courageous.
Yes.
Hey, how much knowledge do we need here before we move forward? And if you try to wait for 100% of the knowledge, you're probably waiting too long. So there has to be some faith, which is the feel side.
And the devotion, I believe in myself, I believe it's going to happen, the emotional drive.
And then how often have you known something and you've felt something and then there's no action? So
which relates to most people don't, but you do.
Yeah.
Taking action.
Yes.
Why are we so afraid? And part of the answer, I think, deals with courage. When you were doing the research, you and your team, did any other words come to mind? Was there abundance? Did you consider faith? Did you consider knowledge? Were there other words that can you share one?
In the spirit of the definition, the one that always gets challenged is faith. And you can see why, especially when we do what we do in the middle of the country. Yep. Some people don't love that word. They'll be like, why didn't you just say belief? And I think it was just more like, sometimes you just have to have faith in an idea. I think belief, maybe sometimes people need to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want belief to be all the way out there. No, it's faith.
Yeah.
You have to have faith in an idea, something that hasn't happened yet. And why do you believe in that? Why do you still have faith in that? So that was one. The other word that comes to mind, which it's funny, and I love words as a writer. I love bending words. The two other words that come to mind, one, really, we're in the clarity business. That's what it is. It's. I could have called the company Clarity, but it's really, people want to be courageous with their business, with their lives. But if they don't have the clarity or the tools to know why, they haven't figured out their why statement, their purpose statement. Yeah. There's so much fog, they haven't figured out.
Clarity.
So clarity, I think, is a big one. And then the other one, and rest in peace, Tony Hsieh, Tony was one of the earlier guests on our podcast.
Was
Zappos.
Yeah.
And in classic Tony Hsieh, for those who knew him, Tony was as curious as anybody. And he also was like, if you want me on the podcast, you have to come to Vegas, twist my arm, Tony. But he's like, come stay at our Airstreams. Wow. And they had taken over downtown Vegas. He was a revitalization project. They had 30 Airstreams on this property. So I remember we spent the night there as alpacas are like walking around on this property. And when it came time to finally do our podcast, he actually asked me, are you sure your book should be called Return on Courage or Return on Curiosity? And I think that said a lot about Tony.
Yeah.
But it also, there's some truth to, you really can't be courageous if you don't stay curious. Don't continue to be a sleuth and to experiment.
Yeah, great. Yes, yeah. Because thinking differently takes courage.
Yeah.
And doing different takes courage.
Yeah.
So there's so many components, which I love. Do you, go ahead.
I also think being different takes courage. If you're thinking and you're feeling and you're doing, and you do that consistently, then you are being courageous. You had a slide about being to becoming. What was the line?
It's easy to be,
yes,
but it's better to become.
I love that line.
Which a lot of people are then asking me to talk more about becoming better.
Yeah.
Feel better, do better, be better. So that might be another component
like
of
that.
something that I explore, because when we think about anything that we're doing, if people want to learn, they want to learn because they want to get better. Why am I going to buy your book? Why did you give me a book? Thank you. Because I'm going to read it, and Terry started reading it last night first, because I want to become better. I took notes from you because I want to become better. I want to talk to you and brainstorm with you because I want to become better. And that takes a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
It takes clarity, it takes focus, it takes avoiding the distractions, it takes so many things, including courage. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think if you are a consistent IV drip, whatever that is, and you're doing it daily, you will become it.
Yes.
You will become it. You will be it. So I think even for businesses, as I think if we think it and we feel it and we do it enough, and again, you can't just think it and feel it. You got to do it.
Do it. Yeah.
And you got to do it. And you got to do it. And you got to do it. And you got to do it.
And you have to have that devotion and that macro and that micro, whatever lovely thing that you just shared that I can't remember.
Right?
Yeah.
You become it. You be it. You be it.
Ryan Berman, Berman, Ryan. I'm not ending. I got a question. Are you courage?
Oh, yeah.
Are you courage?
Yes. No doubt.
Was it fortuitous that you are courage? Is that what drove you? Is that what led you? Did the universe direct you to be courageous? Or did your 300, 400, 500 people that you interviewed over a 3-year period guide you to courage?
No, I think this is like a 3-hour tour now. So again, let's do this as fast as possible. We'll do this as fast as we can. There are moments in your life, if you're lucky, that you will stop and audit the choices that you're making. But a lot of us are on autopilot for a long time. I call them, there's 4 S's in our life, not asses, S's. It's probably 4 asses too, but like 4 S's in your life. The first phase of our life is beliefs become your beliefs. I was a Redskin fan. Why? Because my dad took me to games. That's where I grew up. I will bleed burgundy and gold, or whatever, Commanders now. Their beliefs become your beliefs. Gravity wins, they're shoved on you.
Shoved.
All good. And then around 16, you start to slip into the next S, which is survivor. And then the survivor stage puts you through, if you choose college, who do I want to be in that phase, through your first job. You're like, you're going to pay me? Oh my God, someone's going to pay me. You didn't ask who your boss is to really interview the people. You are the duck. And but you're really in survivor mode. And some people never leave this stage, but are on autopilot. And if you're lucky, and if you think about the people that you remember, there's probably 1 or 2 that started to break the rules. And you're like, wait, you can say no?
Yeah. Yeah, you can move to Hawaii. You can start your own business.
It's not even like you just, if it's pop culture, you just think this is what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to be. And then if you're lucky, you move to success mode. And success mode it's starting to slow down. you learn which rules you can break. You learn like your network is, oh, it's not a race between me and them. And you start to do like you start to accumulate wealth. And then there's got to be something more. And I think you enter soul mode. And soul mode is everything is aligned. You're giving out
Gratitude stones. You're fulfilled. You're happy. You're content.
You want, you know what? It's like you want it all, and it's possible. But you have to believe that first. So, if I look back at the choices of when life, the shoved mode, I was given the green light for independence. So I got to go explore. And
From your family.
Yes.
Shoved.
And I got the shove mode. I got to go play. And then survivor mode was like, I still got into the school I wanted, television, radio, got to study communications. I was writing scripts early. There was joy there, and I followed that path. It got me to New York City. Still was like one of the larger networks. I wouldn't change a day of that. Amazing experience. Was there pretty much for a decade. And I was on both sides of the brain too. I was like on the management side before the creative side. So I got to go do all that. And then success mode didn't start really for me until I got to San Diego and started, okay, let's do this. Let's start an agency. How do you do this? Let's figure it out. And you pick your head up and it's 7 years later and you're like, I wonder if I should get married ever. And somehow then met my wife, then we had our
kids.
So it really wasn't until around 38, 39 that I was in success mode and was writing the book, and then the This Is Your Life episode started to happen for me. And it was really the reflection of me sitting with other leaders. And there's specific moments now that I can remember. One was with the founding astronaut at Virgin Galactic. She's come up and have lunch with me. And before the trays even hit the table, she goes, so what makes you qualified to write a book about courage? Touche astronaut.
Yes, okay, great.
I have been writing pithy one-liners on Twitter for a living. That's pretty courageous. She starts, like, you're putting the emphasis where I'm not. I just asked you a question, and your brain thought you were being challenged. Part of your mission is to figure out why you're writing this story. And then she proceeded to tell me it takes you 40 years to figure out who you are, and the next 40 to be that person.
Makes sense.
But when you're in it, you don't realize that.
No.
You're just in it.
No.
So it allowed me that moment, it allowed me to take a step back, and I can actually see myself right now driving back to San Diego in silence with my knuckles in the 10 and 2 position, realizing that this was